Of the Hispanic Patriot podcast, broadcast live from a secret undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines here in Denver, Colorado. Here we speak the truth and nothing but the truth, so help us God. And now, without further ado, we got two hosts with us. We got Nick, our new co-host, Nicholas Rezo. So welcome, Nick. And then our host of the Hispanic Patriot, Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for Hugo.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot. We've got some hot button issues for you tonight. First of all, before I get too far along, I want to thank everyone who is following us. I want to encourage you to become a subscriber on our YouTube page. If you're on X/Twitter, please follow us there and become a compatriot on that pattern. We will follow you back too. So, and then of course we've got the our brand new, which we'll talk about towards the end of the show, brand new Facebook page for the Hispanic Patriot, which we're excited about. So, without too much fanfare, we're going to roll right into our first topic tonight, which is something that just I don't know. If you're a parent with school-age children, you're not going to like the two topics that we're going to open up with. But here we go. In Colorado, there are things going on in our legislature that are just beyond the pale. The Colorado Democrats have introduced legislation that would mandate schools to socially transition students who question their gender identity. Okay, this is for elementary and high school. The bill was introduced in January, and it would force public school and charter school teachers and staff to use a student's preferred name and pronouns. The legislation states that a school's refusal to respect a student's request to use a preferred name is discriminatory. Where have we heard that before? According to the bill's text, a child's chosen name is a form of gender expression, and the school must respect that. A task force within the state's Department of Education will be created to provide recommendations to school districts on implementing non-legal name changes for students. The bill would then be the first state law enshrining social transitions at school and has a strong chance of passing, given that the Colorado Democrats hold a supermajority in the legislature. If passed, the legislation would be the first of its kind. It would force social transitions at schools, despite teachers and parents being against the act. So, does this sound like a democracy to you? Does this sound like anybody has a say except these radicals in the legislature? I mean, this is beyond the pale. I'm so happy I don't have school-age children right now in school, because I would be marching down there and pounding on that principal, and I would be on the principal's door, I should say, not on the principal himself. But these
it might
we haven't
get
gotten there yet.
and this there's a group called the Colorado Parent Advocacy Network, which has slammed the Democrat-backed legislation, and they're saying that it silences free speech and religious beliefs of school staff, and that cannot, in good conscience, abide by this bill. So, give me your input, guys, on this. This is just like beyond the pale.
Well, you're happy that you don't have kids in school right now. I'm happy I'm not in school anymore. I can still remember those days, and when I was in school, this kind of started to come about, but it was sort of an optional thing. It's like, well, if you believe in this stuff, you can have fun in this little club where, we think we feel differently, and that was fine enough when I was growing up. There wasn't a whole lot of shoving it in your face. But when the trans thing started to come up, there was this sort of aggressive force, I want to say. There was a genuine dislike of people who just didn't get the name changes right. I was one of those people. I never really, if I met people and I knew them for a long time, it was very hard. And I'm sure many people have the same experience. It's hard to call someone a different name after knowing them your whole life. Your brain actually gets wired. You see this person, you know them as this. So it takes time to understand, and even if you're part of this thing, what I would say, what I used to say is, you know what, I'm not part of that game. I don't really feel what you feel. I'm just gonna call. Is it cool if I just call you what I know you as? And most people that I knew were okay with that. Like, yeah, it's hard. What bills like this does is that changes that dynamic to which now that person can say, no, you have to call me that. I'm making you call me what I want you to. And now it's a power thing, and now you're not friends anymore. And now you have more quote unquote trans hate. You have more hate towards these people, quote unquote, because you're creating conflicts by having one group have the force of law and the other half have the force of the people. People saying, hey, parents saying, hey, we're not playing this game. Can we just not play your game? That's what I want to go back to. Allow people to not play the trans game if they don't want to. If they're cool with it, fine. If they're not, let them call you whatever you want. It's whatever. It's like having a nickname that someone's not calling you.
Well,
It's really
look at look at the in the United States, there are basically more than 18,000 schools that have implemented policies that mandate teachers and staff to allow a child to choose their preferred pronouns and gender
and
while,
enforce it. That's
while
my biggest.
also hiding it from parents.
That's a huge problem too. Anything that is, the parent should always know what's going on with their kid. My parents made sure that they knew what was going on with me, and they respected that. I understand that some parents are Puritans, and they might punish their kid. I get that, but you know what? That's part of the struggle of your life. You can't force other people who are children, people who are in your situation where they don't know what's going on in the world, to have to be on a particular political side for your sake. You're not on their side for a lot of things. We're not forcing trans kids to, fight for Hispanic issues. We're not forcing trans kids to, fight for low taxes. So why are their handlers? Because they, of course, only want to be left alone. They're very much pawns in a great game a lot of the time. They want to use these kids to break down somebody's door. And right now, that door, for a lot of them, is just the traditional norms of society. And that's a sad target. When you're attacking the foundation of society, using kids, whether they are confused or not, it doesn't matter. You don't use kids as a battering ram to force down the walls of educational institutions who are already on their last leg. They already can barely teach us anything. Why bother with this social engineering stuff if you can't even teach the basics? They're failing on all levels, and they're going to fail at this too.
It's just, I mean, this is what we have here in Colorado. We have a legislature that is basically a runaway legislature that has no intent of representing the people, and in this case, the parents. They're trying to circumvent the authority of the parents to raise their children the way they see fit. Yeah. And this is what we're left with. This is what schools are spending time and money, and then every time you turn around, what are they doing? They're asking for more money because they don't have enough money, because they're wasting it on junk like this.
And can I say something? Political mobilization is not mental health care. Okay? People don't get mentally better when you force them into stressful situations like politics. So I really don't like, this whole idea that we need to mobilize the trans kids, mobilize the gay kids for our political. You hear the word kids, the only words out of your mind should be leave them alone. Let them join whatever fight they want to do after they get out of school, when we become adults. I feel like I definitely benefited as a young kid getting involved in politics at a young age, but I was a weird kid that liked politics at a young age. They're forcing these kids, if they're conformed to the LGBT label, to mobilize into their system, and that's unfair. It's just unfair. From an unbiased political perspective, it's unfair to mobilize children. We're not the Hitler Youth. We're not the Volkssturm. We're not on the last leg where we have to, defend trans civilization or whatever they think it is. We're not, at the conscript everybody phase. People aren't gunning down LGBT people in the streets. We're not Iran. Like, so we don't need to mobilize the children for these things. And I saw that when I was growing up, it just getting started. Now it's at this point. Do you want to see what the next step is, people? Do you? I don't think we do. I think we just
Yep.
want to demobilize.
Well, let's transition real quick on this other issue that's taken or already took place in the Jeffco schools. This is another example of how the schools are basically indoctrinating our children, and the minute you bring it up, they say, "Oh, no, we're not doing any of that." But in Jeffco, between February 5th and February 9th, just a little over a week ago, they had a Black Lives Matter at school um, action week. That's what they called it. So they spent an entire week on this agenda, and the table of contents on this will blow your mind. The primer on this was, what does Black Lives Matter Action Week have to do with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act? Sample Office of Civil Rights Complaints regarding Black Lives Matter at School Week. A template letter to send to school boards, superintendents, and or principals, and suggested talking points and resources. So this is what they spent an entire week of our school to do. So their basic premise is that when schools engage in racial discrimination in violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, they risk losing their federal funding. Some forms of discrimination are very obvious, while obvious others are less so. So if a school were to ban students from entering the doors on the basis of a student's skin color, for example, which would be ridiculous, the illegality of that action would be clear. And if logically follow that the school would lose its federal funding. But what about schools that use instruction materials that are discriminatory in one way or another? So this is what they spent an entire week discussing at this at the schools in Jeffco. So you tell me what this has to do with reading, writing, and arithmetic. This is becoming, ridiculous with indoctrination. Now, an organization like Black Lives Matter, which has been discredited to the hilt, is being given a platform within our schools here in Colorado. So I think they should fire every single school board member at Jefferson County and replace it with some common sense school board members. But of course, we have the mighty teachers union that would jump in immediately and defend every one of them, spending all their ill-gotten gains to fight back against parents that would take offense to this. I don't know. This kind of stuff boils my blood, man.
And it should, because this is a complete waste of our tax dollars. I went to a pretty liberal high school, but it was extremely fair, and I think they did diversity right. They had a beautiful World's Fair where they had all the cultures of the world and all this food, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was unifying. This is not unifying. This is the opposite of unifying. This is also just one particular type of political form of thinking. This is not in any way something everybody could get involved with. You know exactly what's going to happen when this starts. Some kids are going to get really into it because they're either susceptible to it or they're already into that sort of political sphere, and everybody else is just going to kind of tolerate it. Like, all right, that's a thing we're going to do for school. All right, it's better than tests, And is that really what our kids deserve? Is to have to tolerate political indoctrination that might be a little bit fun here and there? This is not even fun. This is unfun guilting for most of the kids there. And I want to say, it's not just white kids that are getting guilted anymore. Hispanic kids are getting more and more guilted, and it's being based on their skin color. If you're a whiter Hispanic, then you're looked at differently than if you're, I don't even want to say black or brown because we come in all shapes and colors. So it's just, it's not, it's this Black Lives Matter nonsense is one type of a very old, outdated type of black supremacist thinking from the 70s. And I'm tired of people not recognizing it. This is one type of old mentality pushed by outdated people, and we don't need to hear it anymore. It's divisive. It's almost Cold War in its outlook of let's divide society so that we can bring everything down for our, it's just, it's backwards, it's absurd, and it's not going to teach kids anything. Actually, most kids won't know what to do with this other than, just be like, all right, something to do for school.
Well,
It's
listen,
just
listen to this. Listen to this sample letter that the Office of Civil Rights complaint regarding Black Lives Matter at School Week. It says, I am filing this complaint on behalf of a child who has experienced a racially hostile learning environment at school due to the school's use of racially discriminatory lessons and instructional materials. The school district has adopted the Black Lives Matter at School Action Week curriculum and teaches it across various grade levels each February in accordance with the Action Week calendar promoted by the National Black Lives Matter at School calendar. The child named below was subjected to the racially hostile learning environment created by the Action Week curriculum in his or her school during 2022 and 2023 school year, and now fears attending school during the week of February 5th through the 9th, 2024, because his or her school will be teaching the same curriculum again during that week. So
it's like I've always wanted to be a patsy for a racist slush fund. Great idea, guys. Like, they're literally going to use kids. They're going to say, "Oh, you're," it gives the kids a chance to kind of mess with the school if they really want to. This is ridiculous. I experienced real racism when I was growing up in school. Mostly like, oh, well, you're a poor Mexican and we're, rich kids of one group or another. Like, and my father did not tell me we should sue the kids. My father told me, when you represent yourself, you don't just represent yourself. You represent everything you are. If you're a Mexican, whatever you do, people will see Mexicans as you. If you're a man, everything you do will reflect on men, and so on and so forth. So the best thing you can do to fight racism, real racism, is to be a stand-up, morally virtuous person so that people see you and say, you know what? If there's even one of them like that, they can't be all bad. That's on a basic level. On a bigger level, you could be an inspiration for your whole country, for your ethnic origin, for whatever you want to be. And this sort of thing right here destroys that kind of mentality.
And they have the audacity to quote Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King is rolling over in his grave
for a number of things
with issues like this. I mean, this is not what he would be promoting. This is not what he was after.
Got that right.
He wanted equality for the people, and this is not equality. This is reverse racism at its finest, and this is going on right in our own backyard. And I'm telling you, this apparently I'm just now being aware of this, but apparently this is the second year they're doing this. So they already did it last week, so they must have kept it pretty hush hush.
I happened to in the first year. Wow.
Yeah, I happened to stumble across this here in the last couple of days. But you notice how this group called FAIR, F-A-I-R, Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism, is what they call themselves. And yet they promote reverse racism to the hilt. So it's okay to be racist in one direction, but not the other.
And to create a game out of it, that's what I dislike the most. Again, it's like, darn well that you aren't experiencing racism, but there's power in claiming that you are.
Of
and
course.
That's just not fair. I don't mean to sound like a child when I say that, but it is just on a basic level not fair. You're the kid on the playground who gets tagged, and you're the one who says, "Oh no, I have a shield that means that you didn't tag me, so I'm still in the game." That's what it feels like to me. Is this very, very childish, basic notion of, "Oh, you were racist towards me." It's like, no, anybody wasn't. No, it didn't happen. If it happened, then maybe we would be listening, but it didn't. Not from just having a different school experience. You can't have a racially constructed school experience for you. And if you do, that's not really what this country's about. So I don't know what you were expecting. Going to public school and getting a black-centered education in a public school system that has every race on the planet. Yeah, that sounds like a little bit of demand of privilege. Sorry.
Yeah. And look at this quote from a supposed teacher. It says, "The Black Lives Matter message is embedded in the way I teach already.
How nice
Everyone
for you.
is valued. So why set aside time for one group of people and not others?"
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
it's-
BLM is a self-professed Marxist.
exactly. That's
Right.
the other.
Essentially
1970s
atheist,
black supremacism.
Organization that has. I mean, they took it down a few years back, but probably about a couple of years ago, on their homepage, they talked about their agenda to dismantle the traditional family. I mean, it's all very Marxist, atheist. I mean, anti-American principles, essentially. It's so you have to look at all this stuff, the trans agenda, the BLM, everything, all of this is, I mean, there are wounds. There are wounds of racism in this country. We have been racist as shit in the past, like bottom line, like slavery and all that, all the way up to Martin Luther King and even after. So racism definitely exists. What the enemy does is he exploits that pain, right? That's what evil does. Evil sees a scab and they pick at it and pick at it. Yep. And so these social groups, essentially, the higher ups, the people that are pushing this stuff out into the system, the whole point is to stoke the fire, divide the nation, conquer, let them tear each other apart. Yep. And that's what we have to see all of this as. And so homosexuality is a real issue. Gender dysphoria is a real issue. These are things that people wrestle with and deal with. And so we can't dismiss these issues, but the agenda here is very obvious. It's clear as day that what this is to destroy the country. It all goes back up to the same beast as I've been talking about.
Well, and it destroys the country from the ground up is what I
BLM,
don't like.
Yeah. And BLM has they could care less about black people. Like
no, absolutely.
All of that money vanished. None of those millions and millions of dollars that they had. There's where to go. Where'd the money go?
It's like one of those prosperity churches. Donate to me and you'll be saved from racism or your sins or whatever they want to call it. Like the sins of racism is what I call it.
The funny thing is I bet at this point in the game, if you honestly polled every single Black American, at 60% or more of them would be like, yeah, the BLM's a freaking joke.
Probably more than that, even, because even the people who support BLM often know that it's a joke. But it's like it's the same reason you do anything that's oh, we got some music going. It's like anything else that you have on this basic level. Like I said, this is why I call it old, because if you know history, if you know ideological history, especially Marxist ideology, Marxist ideologies are like, there's like 500 of them, and they're all like legitimately different. So this one is particular. It's a particular type. The BLM Marxist agenda is a 1970s sort of Black Panther era type thinking put into a modern framework and without the violence, you'd hope. Now the violence is more street riots rather than, I shouldn't even give them that much credit, because the Black Panthers had guns, but they tried not to use them. It was an intimidation thing. Now they just hurt people. They just kill people. They don't care. And so when I say it's from an old time, it's even worse because it's pulled out, rotting, out of date, and they're trying to force it into this modern sort of woke culture that we have. And that's why I think they failed, is because they ultimately really weren't part of this woke culture. Really what they were was, a scam, a monetary scam, hiding as all of that.
Yeah,
so
they found a new methodology for having mostly peaceful protests.
Fiery, but mostly peaceful. We have to remember the fire.
When they burned down all the cities in 2020 and attacked police officers and tore down statues and
Well, and it's
I
sad
mean,
because a lot of in our Chicago area, we actually had local stores, destroyed and all that. And a lot of people that ran these stores were immigrants, Hispanic, Indian immigrants, and they have no dog in this fight. There weren't any Indians or Mexicans, enslaving people in this country. So why do we have to pay for this by their own ideal? Nobody should have to pay for the sins of slavery. We're well past that. But even from their own logic, why do Mexicans and Indians have to pay reparations, et cetera, et cetera? Again, it's a scam. It's a monetary scam. The Black Lives Matter is like the Westboro Baptist Church of black politics. It was just ridiculous. But hey, when you're hiding who you are, you can fool the people sometimes, but not for very long. But now what we're seeing is stuff like this. The last gasps of these kind of things. They still have their tendrils in the system. So people who say, "Oh, Black Lives Matter, it's over. It's not even an organization." It's still around. It's still doing things. Same with the Westboro Baptist Church. They're not just going to go away. They're not just going to go away. You need to give the African American community something better. And why shouldn't they get something better than this schlock? I think that we really deserve better. I really think we do. We deserve better than this outdated schlock in this country, no matter what race you are. That's what I think when I see this. Racially hostile education environment. Like, what is the teacher doing? You know what I mean? Is he going full, like, the Boondocks on you? Like, what is happening that makes you so upset that you have to file, like, a government report on your racist teacher? I cannot imagine. At that point, it's probably more than racism. They'd be written up or fired for, just inappropriate conduct, inability to teach without going insane. Most people who are truly overt racists also, they're not really in the American public education system. You meet a lot of non-white people when you're in the public education system. So I don't think a lot of genuine racists want to become teachers these days. That's just, my theory on the matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, like I said, beyond the pale, and these people are proceeding with their agenda, and they don't care. Uh, They
No,
don't care what parents think or want, and they're going to do what they want to do.
I can only
And then
imagine the parents. You imagine
the
that you have.
minute you say, yeah, well, you got an attorney general who wants to label parents domestic terrorists if they dare,
Yeah, I remember
question
that
anything
one.
that is done.
That's just
So
ridiculous.
But they could keep pushing. Excuse me. They could keep pushing like this, and the more and more they squeeze on these things, the more and more people are jumping ship.
Fight back.
How many Democrats are tired of, like, you come after anyone's kids, they're gonna consider you an enemy, and
And that was even before all this. Almost all the young friends that I have, none of them want to put their kids to public school. And that's right wing and left wing, all over the spectrum. I have nobody of my friends that are willing to put their kids in public school because we all got traumatized from it, frankly. You want to know why a lot of our generation has mental health problems? It's a lot of their school experience. Whether the school was right wing or left wing, the way they teach and the way they demand on kids these days, it's extremely communist. It's extremely Marxist in the sense that it's constantly making you feel that you need to work for your value. In communism, they say, each according to his labor. You still got to work to, get anything you want. You don't get it for free. And this mentality in school of where you don't get anything for free, it's like, well, we're kids. We're in school. You're forcing us to be here. Why, when in addition you're forcing us to be here, why are you trying to indoctrinate us in these things we don't understand? Why are you dividing our friends group between sexuality and race? This is stuff we didn't need, regardless if we agreed with it or not. That's why my generation wants a completely different system, regardless if they're left wing or right wing, when it comes to education. And this is the kind of thing that's going to do it. Watch a whole generation of kids who grow up, not have any kids in public school, just see what happens to your public education system. Keep doing stuff like this.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but something's got to give sooner or later. So we're having our scheduled guest is having some issues getting logged in. So in the meantime, let's shift over to a couple of issues that I found. Some interesting data regarding Latinos and U.S. immigration. Um, there's a Pew Research is one of the better think tanks that do some pretty good polls and studies. And one of their recent studies, they were talking about Latinos say that U.S. immigration system needs major fixes. Well, I think that's a consensus thing across all demographics, but the majority of Latino immigrants and those born in the U.S. share the view that the country's immigration system needs fixing, and this sentiment extends across all ages and education levels. And one of the things that I had seen prior to this is the fact that if you talk to Latino immigrants who came here legally and have become citizens and gone through the process, um, you will find that roughly about 80% of those in that category oppose illegal immigration for one reason or another. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they did it through the process. They went through all the, you know, they jumped through all the hoops and did everything the right way and became citizens eventually. And now you've got people that want to jump the line, so to speak, and just get theirs. And now we're seeing, of course, across newscasts that we've got some of these, oh, they call them migrants. You know what they're calling them now is newcomers. That's the latest. That's the
Wow.
latest. Yeah, that's the latest label that they put on these illegal immigrants.
Not
So
up and
first they
comers, I
were,
guess.
yeah, first of all they were illegal immigrants. Then they were migrants. Then they were undocumented immigrants. Then they were migrants. Now they're being called newcomers. So,
Wow.
I mean, they just keep shifting the labels. And what have we seen here in the last couple of weeks? We had this group of thugs that attacked police officers in New York City. We have a gang roving the streets in New York that are breaking into stores, stealing, uh, and assaulting people. And uh, one of the guys that was part of the assault on those police officers has uh, now come out and said that um, he was caught or he was busted again, this time for theft. And it's uh, it's just amazing uh, to me what is going on.
It's amazing to me too, honestly, because this actually goes back a lot farther than people know. The famous Hispanic rights activist Cesar Chavez actually used to have his own personal, I guess we could call them a militia these days, who would roam the border, looking for people to throw back over because they knew that the first people who would take their jobs during the strikes were illegals. I cannot believe that they've changed to newcomers up there. If I, because my father came here as an immigrant. If he had to be referred to as a newcomer, that would not put a smile on his face. My father took the citizenship test twice, actually. The first time he came through, the story that he told me was the guy who gave him the first test made him so nervous that he got test anxiety. He forgot a lot of the answers. So he went back the second time. It was very emotional because that was very important to him. The process of that being something you have to work for was important. My great grandfather, Michael, from my mom's side, who came from Germany, this is something they don't do anymore. You used to have to sign a denunciation of your previous country when you came here. My great grandfather had a thing. I resign all allegiances to Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, because he came from when Poland was part of Germany. We almost want you to not have many ties to the United States now. Well, we don't, but the government does. The corporations do.
Well,
They want people who are
you
transitory. That's why they like the
you,
migrant name. Migrant means you're going back eventually. That's
you still have to renounce. You still have to renounce your allegiance to a foreign
oh yeah,
country.
absolutely.
So it's a matter of if it's a matter of course. Now there is the system where you can have a dual citizenship,
True.
but your primary allegiance in order to do that in the United States, your primary allegiance has to be to the United States.
Yes.
That's our rules, and I don't know what the other countries do, but all I know is you've got that one guy that they had arrested that had a bond on him for the assault on those police officers. Then there was a $15,000 bond, which was ridiculously low for assaulting a police
Grand
officer.
and a half, really.
But a group in New York raised the money and bailed him out yesterday. Okay. One of the groups that is attending to these migrants,
Scumbag
or
LLC,
newcomers.
I guess.
Yeah. So now that guy is out, and my guess is he's gonna be in the wind anytime, pretty quick. Now, they did capture 2 or 3 of the ones that not escaped, but they had let loose, but then they immediately fled. They arrested them in Arizona at a Greyhound bus station. Apparently, some people recognized them and called the authorities, and they were picked up. So 3 of them got picked up in Arizona. They were on their way to California, and this one guy that just got bailed out is now being taken care of by a local organization in New York City. But the people are about ready to storm City Hall and the governor's mansion because they've had it. This idea that they can just magically find $52 million to issue debit cards to these illegals while you've got U.S. citizens that are homeless, veterans that are homeless, and they get nothing. What kind of system do we have here?
Well, they don't wash the hands is the problem. Homeless Americans and homeless veterans, they don't wash the hands that feed them. That's the problem, is that there's this huge dishonesty of why this is being allowed. This is being allowed because, frankly, the powers that be don't find Native Americans, American citizens, to be as valuable as people who don't know that they're trash yet. People who are newcomers, they're happy with because they don't know who they are. We've all met people like this who they love strangers, but they don't like their family. They don't like their long-term friends because they know who they really are. This is exactly the people that our government loves because they're just like that. They want people to not know who they are. That's why you notice that they've thrown away Hispanic representation. We used to be something important to Democrats and other things like this during the Obama years, and when they needed us against George W. Bush, when they thought they were going to swing Texas back in that day, which seems very silly nowadays. We were thrown out like trash, and that's what's going to happen to whatever group of people they find to make the votes, to do the work that nobody else wants to do. This is going to be something that they're going to do again and again, and that's why I appreciate Hispanics standing up and saying, hey, we've been through this system. We know what's going to happen to you. Don't let it happen to you. Break this cycle. Let's stop the illegal immigration. Let's start figuring out who is an American, who wants to be an American, and make sure that everybody is able to go where they want to go in life, where they belong. That's not what Biden is doing. Biden wants poor, desperate people to flood in the country so that his corporate friends can clean up by hiring cheap labor. Basically, they wanted China, but we have laws that protect our own citizens, so they found some other ones who are in
right. And again, this has nothing to do with the migrant population.
Exactly.
And let's talk. Let's speak to them with dignity and
Brown,
respect,
black, we're all
regardless of the
green to them.
situation.
We're all
But
just dollar signs to them.
the point is Biden, the administration, Biden's just a meat puppet, but the administration, the people behind it, the deep state, this is all again a ploy to degrade and disintegrate our country. So I mean, that's the sad thing, that a lot of the people that are still, I have a hard time understanding how you can't see through this smoke screen, but that's precisely what it is. It's a smoke screen. There's absolutely no order. There's no tracking. There's no nothing going on. It's just open up the gates, which would cripple any nation, regardless. You lose, if you lose track of who's coming in, guess what? And who's getting put in danger? Who's getting put at risk?
It's actually a form of warfare.
How many immigrants are dying
internationally?
Coming over? How many kids are dying crossing the border, taking these trips, doing all thousands. The body count is piling up.
I just read something about what the UN is doing, and the UN Secretary General basically issued a warning to the world, saying that their agenda to strip all nations of sovereignty is in full swing. This is their goal. They want a one world government, and I guess they've appointed themselves as the arbiters of that. And I'll tell you what, I talked to some friends in Texas, and they said they're ready for the blue helmets if they come in and try to impose any kind of will. It's not going to go well for the UN in the United States. They may be able to push other countries around, but I guarantee you it's not going to happen here.
That's why we need our right to bear arms. That's the whole purpose of the Second Amendment.
Well, that's why they're working on trying to disarm us.
That's why we weren't invaded during World War II. You guys remember what Yamato said. If we invade America, there'll be a rifle under every blade of grass and every rock.
Yeah,
that's why we've been the way we are.
That's right.
We are.
And I think a lot of Americans are waking up to that, and that's the beauty. I mean, on a positive note, we're seeing that. This is something we have to expect from the administration that be.
Yeah.
We have to expect. They are losing ground daily. A lot of it. This agenda to destroy America is very obvious at this point, and any clear, level-headed, free-thinking American is seeing this, and they're starting to understand. Yeah, this is
absolutely.
This
and
is
Peter,
going on.
if I might add on to what you said, because I think what you said was so beautiful. They want to destroy the country. I want to make the point that the country is not the government, and it's not just our buildings and our history. It's our people. It's our people right here, right now, who are American citizens and who desperately want to become real American citizens. That's what the nation is the people. And that's what they want to destroy. Is they want to destroy your mental health. They want to destroy your physical health. They want to destroy your financial health. They want to make sure that you are so pinned down like a soldier in a foxhole that you can't get up and stretch and feel freedom and do things with that freedom. They especially don't want you to do things with that freedom because it's unpredictable. So I love what you said, Peter. They want to destroy the country because that's the closest thing that you can say is they want to destroy the country by getting at its people, making sure that you have people who are atomized and alone and without friends, without allies, and without power. A little bit of power in your hands as an American citizen goes a long way when you have a country that you can come together with. I want everyone
to
remember
and that's where we need to be talking, is how we have to vet our immigrants and we have to perform the background checks. I was reading a good article today. Again, something I'll have to bring up at a later episode. But so the point is okay, for those who truly are escaping dictator rule or escaping that are true refugees, people that are trying to flee to this nation for true asylum, they want to become Americans. Great. We need to figure out how to work that out. That's what we need to be talking about. How can we better this process? I think the process that we have is good, but free borders, open borders, that there's no benefit. Nobody wins in that situation, because guess what? Once the country blows up, All these immigrants are they're gonna be homeless. What are they gonna do?
on a sinking ship.
You know, it doesn't make sense. In order to keep a healthy, strong, free nation that can that's why the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
You know, people like Hugo, I saw your post, your response to some guy saying, oh, Jesus would go and help him across the border. Hugo said, no. Jesus said, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. And he's right. Jesus would not fuel and stoke rebellion. The Proverbs say that a fool burns a city down. The wicked burn the cities down. But when the righteous are in power, people rejoice. The city stands strong. A nation flourishes. So, I mean, if you want to burn down the United States, great. Let's open up the borders and everybody loses. So let's actually see it for what it is. This is folly. This this open border policy is absolute folly.
Completely.
And anyways, so I digress.
That was there's there's some discussions that open up on X that are quite interesting, and that one got a lot of attention because this one liberal basically put up there that she thought that if Jesus were here, he would be encouraging us or he would be going to the border to welcome all the illegal immigrants. And no, because Jesus said to follow the man's law as long as it didn't conflict with God's law. And if you have a sovereignty of a nation at stake, then he would not be encouraging people to break the law. That's not what he was about. So that was the discussion, and it opened up a big discussion. Of course, you had all the far left ones that wanted to call us out as a nation because we were being meanies because we didn't want people crossing the border illegally without being vetted. And then there was the other discussion about the Israeli Hamas situation, and they were basically painting Israel as the aggressor, and that they stole the land from the Palestinians, which is a huge lie. And I pointed out, show me where the word Palestinian first appeared, and of course they couldn't answer. And then I pointed out to them that Israel didn't attack Hamas on October the 7th. It was the other way around. So things were fairly peaceful as one can expect in that region up until October the 7th, when they decided they were going to try to annihilate Israel. And, so they poked the bear, and the bear fought back, and now they're crying because their territories are being destroyed and their people are being killed, because a lot of it is collateral damage, and that's war. They've tried their best to try to minimize the collateral damage, but these animals at Hamas basically use innocent people, men, women, and children, to as human shields. So of course you're going to have a lot of casualties with children, because they're basically, they don't care about the lives of those children. They gladly stand behind a child if somebody's shooting at them. That's how brave they are.
And they knew they weren't going to win. We don't probably want to get on this topic too much, but my problem with the thing is they knew they weren't going to win. That they wanted to do was to gin up the feelings of Muslims and Arabs and people who are anti-Israel, to sort of, like you said, it was peaceful beforehand. Nobody was talking about Hamas. Nobody cared. And if things had gone on like that, it's very likely that people would have simply forgotten about the conflict over time. It would, or at the very least, it would de-radicalize. They wouldn't forget about it, but people would not be as violent about it. They'd be more political settlement. So right here, they said, you know what? We don't want Saudi Arabia to do deals with Israel. We want all of our Arab and Muslim brothers to see us dying so that they don't like Israel, they stop working with them, and we change up the whole dynamic of the Middle East. They wanted to shake up the Middle East by their actions. They knew that they were going to be sacrificial, but you know what? Not everybody in Gaza agreed with that. Most people in Gaza wouldn't agree to become sacrificial lambs to, some kind of hopeful geopolitical shakeup that they're trying to do, and working with the perpetual losers who are the Houthis. I mean, they've never been able to secure anything they've wanted to. The Houthis, they've been a nuisance, and same with Hamas, same with Hezbollah. They've never been able to achieve anything. All they've ever been able to do is be nuisances, and I think the world's just tired of nuisances. Let's try to actually have something, real, practical. Did they try to work with Egypt? A little bit. I don't know. I really don't understand.
You have to ask. One of the things that I posted was, which I found out, and it's very true. I said, ask yourself why all the Arab nations in that region don't want anything to do with the Palestinians. Have they offered them asylum?
No.
Have they offered them shelter?
Because
no,
they're civilized
they
nations. Like Saudi Arabia today is trying to get away from its reliance on oil and is trying to go into more like high-tech services and stuff like that. They have a younger king who wants to make things different. Yeah. So a lot of Middle Eastern countries want to move on from this whole, Allah Akbar, let's kill all the, Jews and Americans. That they're ready to move on to the next part of Arab history. But you have these dinosaurs, whether those dinosaurs are in DC or Moscow or Gaza, or Iran, we have these dinosaurs, or China. Dinosaurs also especially run China, who are willing to burn the world because they don't know how to adapt to, the post-Cold War, to let's not kill each other kind of thinking. Like it's like I said, we have dinosaurs. We have our dinosaur, Joe Biden. The Chinese have their dinosaur. The Russians have their dinosaur, and the Muslims have their dinosaurs. We'll see what happens. We'll see who gets turned into oil.
Keep praying for them.
We have to.
Yeah. So I want to transition. We've got an event coming up this Sunday, where the Hispanic Patriot podcast is going to be at the President's Day meet and greet up in Windsor, Colorado, at the American Legion there, the American Legion post. And they're going to have the candidates from CD4 and CD8 there. Now, this is not a forum or a debate. So the format is basically going to be a meet and greet. And during that time where there's going to be a meet and greet, we're going to be doing interviews of some of the candidates that we can get on to record and talk to them about CD4 and CD8. So, and then towards the latter part of the event, the event is going to permit the candidates a 5-minute stump speech from the stage. So each candidate will be allotted 5 minutes to give their basic stump speech, and that will be the conclusion of the event. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be recording the interviews and doing some commentary of the event. Now, my understanding is that Chris, the videographer, is going to be handling the recording of the individual interviews, and we're going to have a variety of recordings that then we're not going to do this live. So we're going to be doing it to where we have a few video recordings that we're going to then merge together and then upload those as the podcast. Is that correct, Peter?
I was thinking that we were going to be there live. Like he's going to film you just like this, and you could talk to people. You can do whatever you want. We can do both. We could record it live and then stream it.
But either way, it's going to be a Hispanic Patriot special, no matter what.
Yes, we'll work out the details afterward. But anyway, if you're in Colorado and you're interested in going,
Come on down.
it's a Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. in Windsor, Colorado, and it's called the President's Day Meet and Greet.
Their announcement here is calling all patriots, conservatives, and Republicans. Join us for a fun-filled President's Day celebration in Windsor, Colorado, USA. This exciting event brings together CD4 and CD8 congressional candidates for a speak, meet, and greet session. Get a chance to interact with these aspiring leaders and learn more about their visions for our communities, state, and nation. So it is, it's the Colorado Conservative Patriot Alliance, CCPA. So,
yeah.
look, Lauren Boebert might speak. So, hey, for all you, left, like for those on the left that hate Lauren Boebert, if you want to show up and, speak your mind, there's the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, we'll say hi to you.
Make some friends. Let's talk. Hey, one thing I wanted to talk about was the Putin interview.
That was a big one.
Look, we're talking. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Hang out. We'll talk, and we can bring some gloves, duke it out if you want.
So it's going to be a special, and we'll figure out if we do it live or not. But we'll get that worked out. But it should be a fun event, and hopefully we'll get some good interviews from some of the candidates. I don't know if we'll have all the candidates. They may not all want to do it, but I know a few already that are interested. So we'll take care of that. I also wanted to, before we close out, let everybody know to please visit and follow our new Facebook page, the Hispanic Patriot. We're going to be posting all of this on our website. So if you're looking for us on Twitter /X, YouTube, now Facebook, and we do have a Rumble page for those that are not necessarily on Twitter. So we're going to be expanding our platforms and hopefully reaching as many folks as we have. We crossed a milestone on our X page. We now have more than 3,000 followers there and growing every day.
Right.
So come and join us. Come and join the discussion. We want your feedback. If you're so inclined, we want your donations so that we can grow the show even more and get as much information out as we can during this very important election year. So we want you to give us your feedback as to what topics you would like to hear about, because we want to serve you, the audience. And we want you to tell your friends and your family about the Hispanic Patriot, and just basically let's have a conversation. Let's communicate with one another. And I invite people from both sides of the aisle. If you're respectful, we're open to discussion. We don't want gratuitous. If you come in with gratuitous insults, you will be blocked. I'll guarantee you that. But if you come in respectfully and at least have a dialogue, I'm open to that. So we're all open to that. But let's keep it above board and make sure that we can listen to each other at least.
Yep.
We may not agree with each other, but at least we can walk away with the knowledge that we had a conversation. So
and to feel like Americans again.
Yeah, I mean I think that's important. We want to create some sort of dialogue.
Absolutely.
And you never know when you might learn something, and we might learn something.
Absolutely.
We're not above, we're not above having the ability to learn something from the other side.
Absolutely. That's what our whole culture is about, is to take what is good and try to grow it as much as possible wherever it comes from.
Yep. And let's remember that it's America first. We want to keep America first. What's good for America is good for all of us, whether we're Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, whatever.
Yeah, and
we all have to
taking care of your
live
own
under
family.
the same rules.
Taking care of your own family makes other families stronger, because they see how strong you are and they realize, hey, my neighbor is strong, I can be too. We're all in the same boat together. If we make our ship shape, that makes us all feel better and know that we got the wind in our sails.
Absolutely. So that concludes another edition of the Hispanic Patriot. We want to thank everyone who tuned in. If you didn't get to catch it live, catch it on one of our platforms, and definitely give us some of that feedback that we're looking for. And we hope to see you again after our special show, and also next week. Oh, one program note: we will be shifting to Wednesdays starting next week. So look for us on Wednesdays from 6 p.m. to 7.
Yep, right for you in the middle of the week.
That's right. On Hump Day.
Hump Day?
We'll do a Hump
We'll help you
Hump
get through it.
Day. Thank you all, and good night. God bless.